Hi, my name is Peter Power and I'm the owner of Power Pest Control. Today we're going to go through a walkthrough on what it's like to do an exterior inspection of someone's home. Here at the site, where it's a detached house, and what we're going to do is we're going to be looking for points of entry on where the mice are getting in and what we can do to eradicate it. So stay tuned and watch carefully and how I go about doing this job. And then at the end of the video, I'll explain in detail how I go about doing this and what we do, what kind of poisons we would use to knock out a particular pest problem. Okay, so here we go. So right now I'm at the garage of the house, okay, and when I do an inspection for rodents, I usually like to see if there's any chew marks on the corners of the garage, like you'd see at this spot right here. This is where mice would come in from the corners of a garage. So when the garage door is closed, I want to see at the bottom left and at the bottom right of the garage door is completely sealed. Also, I like to look at the weather stripping. That the weather stripping is nice and tight, and there's no rodents chewing on the weather stripping. Usually, you could see a big chunk taken out from the corner where a rodent would be coming in to your home. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this garage and then close it, and I'm going to see if there's any light coming in. So stay tuned. So now what I'm doing is I'm closing the garage door from the inside, and what I want to see if there's any light coming in from the sides of the garage. Usually if I see light coming in from the corner right about here, this is a sign that mice can find a way to get in. And as you can see, there's a little bit of light there. So what we'd want to do is put like a shim of some sorts to prevent mice from coming into the garage right here when the door is closed. So I'd do it for both sides. Both on the left and for the right side. We'd want to find a solution to kind of prevent the mice from coming in. When we're in the garage, sometimes there's pipes that are sticking out from the wall. This right here, this water pipe, sometimes when I've seen some contractors, they don't put this piece of molding there, or there's a little tiny hole around the bottom. Mice can find a way to get inside through here. So what I'd want to do is either caulk it or put some steel wool around it to prevent the mice or rodent from getting in. Sometimes when we're dealing with rats and so forth, we may have to do metal screening because the rats will literally rip apart the steel wool, so it's not going to be sufficient enough. So I may have to do some metal screening or some steel wool and caulking, but at times that might not be a permanent fix. It might be a temporary fix. So that's when we might have to get a contractor in to kind of actually do a proper job and sealing it up once and for all. Now we're walking along the side of the house right here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for pipes that are sticking out from the walls. As you can see, there's a gas line right here. You can see that's well caulked. It's well sealed, so rodents are not going to be able to come through the house. That's a great thing. Okay. Also, as we're walking here, you can see some other pipes. This one right here is for the electrical. You can see that it's well grouted. Sometimes the contractors, they miss a spot on the bottom, so we may have to put a little bit of caulking on here so the mice or any rodents does not get through. This is pretty tight, so I don't think a mouse would be able to squeeze through here, but if it was pushed out a little bit wider, then we would have to do something in terms of putting some caulking there, so some steel wool to jam it up. Okay, now we're looking at some of the HVAC piping. HVAC piping is sealed up here pretty well. It looks beautiful. I love it. One of the things I've noticed, and this is a side note, people always ask me, can rodents actually go inside these pipes, right? Or should I put some screening there? I don't recommend putting screening here, because if you put one of those screens inside this pipe right here, what will happen is that in the wintertime when it gets really cold, it's going to form icicles and it can blow out your HVAC. If a rodent or some sort of animal runs into here, it's just going to run into the HVAC or the furnace. But this rarely happens. I would not put any screening on this. This is very, very dangerous for your home. I'm not an HVAC guy, but I suspect it would be against the code and so forth. But that's not my area. My area is pest control. So, but generally speaking, very rarely an animal is going to run through this area. So I wouldn't worry about an animal going through here. Leave it open. It's not a big deal. Now what I'm concerned about is making sure that it's caulked from the pipe that's sticking out from the wall. Okay. Same thing here. This is pretty good. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A lot of my homes that I go to, they have the caulking sometimes is missing. Like this is relatively new. You can see that it probably was installed just recently, and the caulking is relatively stiff. Now the mice, if they want to, they could chew through here. Once they chew through here, they follow the pipes and they go into the furnace room. So logically speaking, when I do an inspection inside the home, I always start off in the furnace room. I call the furnace room the hub. The hub of is where all the pipes lead in. So you'd have this pipe going to the furnace, you would have your water tank, you'd have everything going in there, and then from there the mice would then travel up to the kitchen, because the drain pipe for the kitchen is down sometimes in the furnace room, right? And other plumbing pipes are all and electrical usually lead into that particular room. And then from there I would then set up my bait stations. They're generally speaking little black boxes with poison in them, and strategically place them in the house to knock out the mice. It's a way of intercepting them and knocking them out, and that's how we pretty much get rid of our rodent problem. So yeah, so that's pretty much that whole thing right here. Now we're going to go along into the backyard, see if there's anything that would be conducive towards a rodent activity. Now there's a gas vent at the back of the house right here. You can see it's well caulked. I'm not too worried about it, but if I wanted to figure out if there was ever rodents living around here, what do you see? Well, I see a shed with no base on it, no concrete base. Now you can tell that there was an animal living underneath here because of the fact that there's some sort of depression in the ground, maybe a rat or and so forth. So we have to kind of figure out that this is something that's conducive to animal activity. It would be recommended to put a shed, when you have a shed of some sort of something of this nature. It's always good to put put on a concrete base, just because of the fact that you're least likely to get animals burrowing underneath and making it shelter for the winter. As we make our way around around the house right here, we can see that everything else is sealed up properly, and we're checking for many different things. Like sometimes now when we're over here, there's things called weep holes. People ask me, do mice get into the weep holes? Yes, they can, but should we seal them up? No, because weep holes, they allow for water and moisture to leave the house, so you're not going to seal them up. But there are some products online. There's a company called Riddle Mice that sells weep hole covers. They're metallic covers that you can squeeze in here, and with a mallet you can tap them in. So what it does, it allows the air and the water to come out and prevent the insects and rodents from getting in, right? So that's something to look at. Now, as we walk around the rest of the house, we're taking a look and seeing many different things. Now, this hole right here is a little concerning, but because of the fact that it doesn't seem like it goes all the way, I'm not too worried about it. I can't foresee a rodent getting in, but obviously a mouse can get through a weep hole this wide. So this is something that you'd want to actually put a weep hole cover in and prevent that from happening. Now this pretty much concludes the inspection of the property from the outside. As you see there, we're now back at the front. So now what we do is we'd go into the house, and then we'd set up bait stations to knock out the mice. So pretty much if you do a quarterly inspection around the property of your home, this is one of the ways that you can figure out if you have potential entryways for mice. Thank you for watching my video, and have a great day. Bye for now. Stay safe, guys.